Today we've got music streaming platforms like Pandora and Spotify, where you can basically hear any type of music you want. And if you pay a little, you get commercial free. I mean, Pandora, I don't have commercial free, so I'll get ads every couple of songs. And before we had these streaming platforms, there still is satellite radio, which were two big companies, Sirius and XM, which are now one and the same. Before that, for about a century now, there's been regular, I don't know what you would call it, terrestrial radio, where you've got stations, local stations with DJs and variety shows way back in the day before television. They had variety shows and talk shows and commercials all over the place. However, in between terrestrial radio and satellite radio, there was this little period of time, something else that came along that kind of shook terrestrial radio. It was basically a precursor to the Pandora and Spotify. Preset stations, no commercials, no DJs. You did pay a price for it. And that service was called Digital Music Express, or DMX. And what better way to explain what DMX is for those that might not know it than by listening to a little ad from when it was out. This is from 1992.
DMX is a cable CD library with over 50,000 titles connected to your personal stereo system. It's available right now, 24 hours a day, without interruption. DMX is 30 channels of CD-quality audio. 30 channels, 30 distinct musical formats. Enough variety to suit any mood, any musical taste, without buying expensive CDs or even a CD player.
So DMX was a lot like what satellite radio is. It was based in Los Angeles and first started operations in September 1991. Essentially, it was hooked like through your cable system, but you got your own box, like a DJ box. And you also got your own remote that looked like a brick that was called the DMX DJ with the DMX logo on it, which looked like a little man with a head and arms with the M and X kind of crossing into each other. DMX offered 30 commercial-free channels, so you're looking at anything you could think of. Rock, top 40, R&B, hip-hop, even, jazz, reggae, all that stuff they had. And it actually took off to where there were articles about whether DMX could challenge terrestrial radio and kind of make them, I guess, change their ways. I don't know what it would have meant. Fewer commercials, because you got a lot of the stations today do commercial-free hours or mornings. So it's obviously changed how they operate. But when it first came out, DMX was $10.95 a month. So Spotify Premium is $9.99 a month, as is Pandora Premium. So those are definitely better deals than what DMX was. And with those, you can create your own station. So you could have hundreds and hundreds of custom-made stations. But 30 years ago, this was a huge deal that you didn't have to wait for DJs to play what you wanted. By May of 1993, DMX had 120,000 customers nationwide. One of those customers was my family. I don't remember how we ended up getting it. Why is obvious. If you have 30 commercial-free stations with 5 kids, naturally there'll be something that they want to listen to, and it'll kind of shut them up for a little while. And I'll always remember we got the DMX box and remote, and we couldn't figure out how to get it started. And the rest of the family, I don't know where they went. No one else was home, and I was home alone, and I was probably 15 years old, and I was messing around trying to get it to work. And I finally got it started. And the first thing is what it always sticks with me. DMX started up, and I believe it was the top 40 station. And the first song that ever played on our DMX at home was a song, Passion, the Passion Song by Rhythm Syndicate. I mean, talk about a one-hit wonder, and I wish it had been something more contemporary, something more exciting that played first. But it did peak at number 2 on the Billboard charts, so it was a big hit. If you don't know it, go look it up and listen to about 5 seconds of it, and then just, you can shut it off. The neat thing with DMX is it would show you on the screen what was playing and on the remote. There was a competitor to DMX that started around the same time called Digital Cable Radio, DCR. If you wanted to find out what songs were playing on DCR, there was an 800 number you had to call. Talk about a scam right there. If you didn't know the song, you had to call a phone number and pay money to find out. Needless to say, DCR was not a success. DMX, though, they got up to 300,000 customers by March of 1994, and they weren't seen as challenging terrestrial radio by that time. When they first came out, they were wondering about it. It was seen more as a novelty, and I guess that's kind of true. By April 95, DMX said that they were available in 17 million homes worldwide. Now, I don't know if that means that 17 million people had it and paid for it, or that's just how many could have gotten it. But I do know that our experience, my family's experience with the DMX, I don't think it lasted that long. I mean, maybe a few months, because I can't remember us having it even through 1995. I mean, we definitely didn't have it when I was graduating high school in 1996. So DMX was successful through the 90s. It stuck around. But the thing is that satellite radio then came around. XM was the first that came around in 2001, and Sirius satellite radio came around in 2002. And this you could have in your car. So it didn't make DMX obsolete, but it definitely swung the tide. But the thing is, DMX was already phasing residential commercial-free radio out. They were shifting towards businesses, gyms, retail stores. So that's the irony, is that DMX, I didn't know until I researched this topic for the podcast, but DMX is still around today. The thing is, it's not under the same name. So in 2012, DMX, the company, was bought by Mood Media for $86.1 million in March 2012. And it became a part of this Mood Media conglomerate. And the neat thing is, Mood Media, they have some big clients. We're talking McDonald's, Gold's Gym, Whole Foods, and others. So that means there's a chance that if you're in a McDonald's and you hear music playing, that it's the DMX system, even though it's not called that anymore. So it's still around. That blew my mind. I thought, honestly, that when satellite radio came out in the early 2000s, I thought that was kind of it, that DMX faded away. But little did I know it was like that Muzak that you hear in Macy's and Kmart and such, that it's kind of a branch off of that. But 30 years ago, DMX, Digital Music Express, was the precursor to satellite radio and to premium streaming like Pandora and Spotify. Had any of you heard of DMX? Did you have it? I remember having it. I don't know how long. It probably wasn't that long if I don't remember it. But if you had it, do you have any positive memories of it? Did you have fun sitting and checking out the stations? What about that ad? Did you remember that ad with that whistling keyboard music? I don't remember it. They actually have merchandise on eBay, I've seen. Hats with the DMX logo on it, which was funny. I don't know who would have bought that. But there's a little nostalgia for you. Digital Music Express. Something pretty obscure that I remembered, and I hope, research it, check it out, see if you remember it.